Small talk can be uncomfortable. Small talk can be a big problem for some people. My name is Michele Paiva. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. So number one, there are certain reasons why you might be struggling with small talk. You might have low self-esteem. You might have had a bad experience in the past. You might have had really judgmental parents, or you might be spectrum, introverted, or just plain shy. Either way, you feel awkward. There's a certain etiquette to small talk as well. We'll go over that later. But for now, let's just dive into some of the reasons why you might be struggling. If you're spectrum, you might actually only want to have conversations with people that are very much like you or like the things that you enjoy. And so if that's been the case and you've been someone who's been more introverted in that way, you might not have developed the social skills to even enjoy small talk. If you're more of an introverted person, you might just not feel like you need a lot of small talk, but that can make you come across as a little bit cold, and then it's going to limit your friendships, which you do want even if you're introverted. Or you might just be shy. Now here's the difference between all of them. Let's just take introverted and lump that together with spectrum, because there's a lot of similarities actually there. If you're introverted or spectrum and you just don't really want to have conversations, as opposed to shy, where you might want to have the conversations but you're nervous about it. Understand that you can also have autism and be very shy, or be introverted and shy. If you're introverted, you're not seeing the value of it, usually. But if you're shy, you see the value of it, but you are worried about what people are going to say to you. In both instances, you might not have developed the social skills to have small talk. And small talk is very important. It's the building block to all relationships. If you struggle in small talk, you're going to struggle to get to know people or have them get to know you. So here's some tips. Number one, keep small talk really lighthearted. Don't make it all about you. Now, some of you think that you're really good at small talk, or even just having conversations, conversationalist types of people. But if you're only talking about yourself, you're actually really bad at small talk. If you walk away from a conversation feeling like, oh, that was really great, but you have no idea about the other person, aside from your assumptions, then you're really bad at small talk, and you might be a little self-centered. So let's work on that. Building friends and building confidence is all intermingled with small talk. And as you build confidence, you're less focused on you and more focused on other people. You don't need to make everything about you. You don't need to be a victim. You don't need to complain. You don't need to gossip. Try to keep things really non-abrasive. Meaning, it's okay if you have opinions about politics or religion or anything else, but keep it really open and very kind of Switzerland about it. Be very Gestalt about things. Be very open-minded and inclusive. It's a good idea to keep things on the arts or the weather if you're just initially getting used to small talk. They're really easy topics that tend to not cause a lot of abrasion. If you choose to talk about politics, religion, I only think that they're taboo if you're going to offend someone, or eliminate someone, or discriminate, or degrade, or impose. But in general, it's totally fine to talk about politics and religion. You can have some really deep philosophical talk, but that's not small talk. That's for later on down the road when you've already created a deep bond with someone. Or if you're in a situation where everyone's talking about politics or everyone's speaking about religion, and it's a safe space to express yourself, and you're not going to be imposing on anyone and no one will be imposing upon you. It'll be very obvious then. But in general, small talk is just that. It's small, it's light, it's superficial. And superficial doesn't mean not important. Superficial just means on the surface. It's great to talk about current events in the scheme of not offending anyone. So for instance, maybe you're Republican, maybe you're Democrat. Hey, really quickly, please subscribe. Thank you. And regardless of where you sit, there are certain situations as a unit we need to focus on. Now, how we focus on them might be different, and our views and our perceptions on that topic might be very different. But in general, if you can find common ground with someone, then you're not going to be in a space of imposing or being abrasive or being conflict-oriented, and you can keep it nice and calm. It's really important to have compassion, and compassion for everyone. So even if you're really not interested in what the other person has to say, still be compassionate. Even if you know that the other person might be lying or being manipulating or deceiving, it's better just to take a few steps back and let them do what they need to do. Here's a tactic that's often used in negotiation. A lot of times, if you just agree with them and sort of fuel whatever it is that they want to hear, it actually helps them to decrease their walls and their boundaries and to be more open. It's something that I've done in my own personal life, and it's something that you can apply as well. It helps the other person to feel safe, especially if that person has a history of being unsafe. Maybe they've had a lot of rejection. Maybe people have not cared for them. Maybe the way they were loved was very conditional. Maybe they had to grow up too quickly. Either way, it's so important to help the other person feel more comfortable. Sometimes they need to hear what they want to hear, and that's okay to do that. Show interest in the other person. Get to their level. In therapy, there's a phrase about meeting someone where they are, and that means really not putting too many expectations or standards or anything else. Nothing where it's about you, it's really making it about that person. So small talk is a lot like that. You're focusing on that person. Find out what they like. Find out what's important to them. Find out what's going to get them to open up. Again, show interest and be really positive. Validate them. There are certain things to not do. Don't gossip about people. You're allowed to express yourself, but gossiping with the intent to harm someone is never going to be positive. Don't use small talk as a place to be on a soapbox. So for instance, if you are talking about politics, or you are talking about religion or anything that's current events or whatever it might be. Your belief systems are yours and they're sacred, but your belief systems are probably not the exact belief systems of the other person. So kind of holding court in small talk is not a good idea. So for instance, small talk is not the place to start ranting about your belief systems or your angers or your frustrations. Small talk is bringing something up in current events, listening to the other person, and asking them some very benign questions. Or maybe it's about the arts, or maybe about the weather. Why is this important? It's important because this is a way for you to connect with someone, show compassion, as well as express yourself a little bit. It helps you to get to know the other person. Now, what if you're shy? What if it's beyond just not knowing what to do and you're just feeling a little awkward or not understanding why you should even have small talk? What if you really want to have small talk, but you are just too afraid? That's probably coming from a feeling of rejection and a feeling of being judged. So what I would love for you to do in that instance is actually take a step back. Don't dive into small talk right away. Instead of diving into small talk, take some time, and this is going to be part of your small talk project, and just take some time to think about why you feel rejected, why you feel like you might be judged, why you feel like the eyes might be on you, or if your opinion won't be respected. And sometimes it won't be, and that's okay. But when you're happier in your skin, it doesn't really matter. You can actually live with, be married to, with someone who doesn't believe everything that you believe, and that's okay. You kind of have to be laid back about it. Let your inner hippie sort of come out. I can't stress enough how compassion is so important. Breaking the ice and having small talk is a great way to not only get to know the other person, but also get to know yourself and practice compassion and confidence. When you give your time to someone else, even if you're more introverted and you feel like, what's the point of having a conversation with someone? But when you give your time to someone else, that is actually the biggest gift you can give to someone. Sure, there's money, sure, there's things, but your time is the only thing that you can't make up. You might get more money and you might be able to buy more things. Money comes and goes, things come and go. But time is something that is truly a commodity. It is the currency of life. When you give someone time and you're not interrupting them and you're affirming them and validating them and letting them vent and even kind of encouraging them to vent more, giving them a little fuel to vent, and then bringing them back down to a place of peace. That's a way for them to cathartically work through something. There's ways in understanding that small talk is so much more than being small. Small talk is so important. Again, it is a way to connect. So an exercise that I would love for you to try, well, the first thing would be getting comfortable in your own skin, understanding why you might feel that you are being judged, and kind of push past that a little bit. It only takes a little bit of just talking about the weather, something more obvious. So for instance, if it's snowing out, talk to someone about like, oh, I hope we don't get too much snow. And if they say, I do, I love snow, then just say, oh my gosh, really? Do you have really good memories of snow? Maybe you can convert me into loving snow. Or if the person says, yeah, I hope not either, say, yeah, well, the good thing is we can stay inside and we can have warm hot chocolate. Always find a positive twist so that no matter what you're going to say, however that person responds, you have something positive to bring back. And that's small talk. And in that, you're going to gain confidence. And it's going to be easier and easier to practice small talk with anyone. It would mean so much if you would subscribe. Please subscribe. You might have lifelong friendships that come out of just, how's the weather? Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.